What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Omnic Lab, a show focused on the strategies in the game of Overwatch. Today, I'm not joined by Rob, it's only me, Andres, aka I Play Games. But having that said, we have a very, very special guest that I'm super excited to introduce. Today, we have the All-Star support, ML7. How's it going, man?
Hello, hello. It's going fine. It's going fine. Just having my second coffee of the day. And Olaf salutes you all also.
Olaf is his little kitty just chilling right next to him. Looks pretty cute. It's great to have you, man. Thank you so much for coming, especially in such a short notice. I think we reached out to you this week and you were pretty quick to answer back. So we're super excited. For those of you who don't know, ML7 is an amazing support. If you haven't caught his stream, make sure you do. He is an incredible Ana, Baptiste, Zenyatta, you name it, he can play it all. But enough of talking about him myself. Why don't I let you introduce yourself? Why don't you give us a little bit of background of who you are and what you do on stream and what you like?
Well, let's just say that I've always been in love with computer games ever since I was a child. I've always tried going, trying to be a professional player in all the games I've played. Serious games that I've treated in a serious manner have been Counter-Strike, League of Legends, and right now Overwatch. But more recently, in the last a year and a half, I have been focused on streaming more.
Very cool. So the streaming has been fairly recent for you, huh?
Yeah, it has been fairly recent.
Your stream has taken off though, and for good measure, because you have a lot of stuff to show in there. All those your Ana tricks and all the stuff is pretty impressive to watch.
Thank you for that.
What drove you to Overwatch? Since you started with Counter-Strike and all those other games, what brought you here?
It's kind of a long story. To keep it short, I would say that I was playing CS 1.6 and Counter-Strike Global Offensive was released. I personally didn't think it would pick up that much. Obviously, I was quite wrong back then, but we're all quite wrong, more wrong, so to say, when we're younger. Then I decided to swap to League of Legends, and after a couple of years of playing there, let's just say that I was severely unhappy because I was not getting anywhere, but I still wanted to grind the game and try to go pro and stuff. My girlfriend saw that, and she was also and always was like very supportive towards me and gaming in general. So she went like, hey, there's a new game coming out. It's my birthday. I want you to try on my birthday this new game. It's called Overwatch. It has FPS. I know you love stuff with guns, so aiming and stuff, the same as you played CS. And that's how it all started.
Oh,
Got
cool.
the game, started playing.
So it was your girlfriend that got you into Overwatch.
Exactly, yeah.
Awesome. What made you pick support? Is that something you were used to playing in League of Legends that you wanted to transition into that role, or what caught your attention about supports?
Usually in LoL, I played jungler and AD carry. I was a master and challenger jungler, master AD carry. But my playstyle has always been like very supportive in all the games I've played. In Overwatch, initially after Dan bought me the games to like Dan being my girlfriend bought me the game so we could play it together. Started playing out DPS because I was like never playing DPS in general. Like I was not having a carry type of personality. I thought that it would fit me quite well. Started playing. We made a team together. And let's say after a couple of months, nobody wanted to play flex support. So I guess that necessity brought us here. Although I would say that at heart, I have always been a support player.
Cool. Back in the day, I think flex support was dedicated to the Zenyatta players, right?
Yes, Zenyatta and Ana.
Back before Jonak was popular and people really saw the power of Zen, right?
Yeah.
Nice. you have a very particular style of playing Overwatch. It's very mechanically intensive. It's very methodical, and when you watch way you play Anna and other heroes, it's almost like make a lot of calculations as you're playing the game. I've seen you do some incredibly crazy nades with Anna, where you're just looking at a cloud or this part of the screen that is just like a corner. You throw the grenade, you time it. You even sometimes time it with your team. You tell guys, wait 3 seconds in 3, 2, 1, go, and then the grenade lands as you're going in. And that's not something that you see a lot of players do. How did you develop that playstyle, and how do you practice to get to that point where you can calculate it that way?
I would say that in general, my playstyle is based around three core values: aggressiveness, being calculated all the time, and being very creative with all of my plays. Let's just say that I'm really good at thinking inside the box, and I like know everything, the shape of the box, everything that's in, and so on. But the core thing that defines me is creativity. So for some people, maybe in Overwatch, maybe they see the game in a certain way and they think that they just land the big anti on people in front. I try to do it more than that. I'm like thinking, if I would be the enemy team, I would be there, I would be doing that. How can I counter that? Like viewing the game outside of what I'm seeing, such as you would see on, let's say, a recording.
Do you do that a lot? Do you try to watch your gameplay back a lot? Do you go back and analyze what you should have done better? How do
Yeah.
you learn a lot of these grenade positions?
It initially started me practicing in game with my girlfriend.
The
It's like she
girlfriend is
helped
like the
her.
real MVP here.
Yeah, she actually is. She's the one that got me into Overwatch, the one that got me into streaming. She's my social media manager now. And she helped me. Like, she's like my harshest critic, but also like my kindest one, so to say. So I would just hop in game with her. And I was thinking back when the workshop mode was not released, so there was no like kind of nade mode that was like being created. I would just put her in the enemy team and watch on her screen where the nade would land. And yeah, that's about it.
Nice. Have you had a chance to check out some of the workshop modes that have been coming out? I think it was Darwin Streams that has created some cool Ana tools to be able to calculate where your nade is gonna land and stuff like that. Have you had a chance to check any of those out?
Yeah, I've been actually using the Anna's Nate tool from Darwin, and I think it's a very amazing addition to the game. So he's been doing like a really good job, a really great job, I mean, with all the workshop modes he has created. And yeah, I'm just using the Nate one. It's amazing. It
Nice. Yeah,
makes things so much easier.
it's a really cool tool. I guess you don't need the girlfriend anymore now that you got the tool. Just taking the girlfriend job over here, Darwin.
From the Nate part, yeah.
No, I'm just teasing. But yeah, it's a really cool tool. If you guys haven't had a chance to check it out and you're into Anna, and you want to practice some of these crazy locations of just looking at a corner or something and landing it specifically where you want it, it's a really cool tool to check out. Are there any players you look up to that you look and try to learn from them, and maybe Overwatch League or maybe some other ladder players?
I look into all professional flex support players, both in contenders and in Overwatch League. But the person I look up most to is the vision I have of myself in the future as a player, and I just strive to get to that vision that I have and just play the way I dream of playing.
Nice. Outside of Overwatch, do you have anything that you like doing? Any other hobbies? Anything to keep you sane after those long hours of competitive?
Well, of course, my girlfriend and Olaf, just for chilling. I just finished law school recently,
Oh, cool.
and let's just say that I'm slowly but surely distressing, so to say. Like from like my whole life so far has been gaming and education, and right now I just want to focus on gaming for a bit. So at the moment, I
Nice.
don't have any other hobbies other than gaming.
So you're lawyer during the day, streamer at night. Is that how it goes?
Uh, yeah, like was like a wannabe lawyer during the day and streamer
Wanna
at
be
night.
lawyer during the
Exactly.
day? Cool, cool, cool. Hey, that's not easy to juggle though. Finishing law school and then playing Overwatch at your level. That's pretty impressive.
Was hard as fuck. Was hard.
Don't worry, cursing is allowed, especially if it helps accentuate the
Oh,
point.
thank you, thank you. I thought I slipped up for a bit, so yeah,
No,
thank you.
we try to keep it clean, but it's understandable. Sometimes we just gotta get him out there.
Yeah.
All right, very cool, very cool. With that being said, let me run through a couple housekeeping stuff, and then we're gonna get right into going deep Baptiste in detail about how to play this hero. For all of you guys who want to find a place to game, Omnic Lab hosts a fantastic game night at the end of every month. The last Friday at the end of every month, so for June is going to be the 28th. We all get together in the Discord server. You can join at discord.gg/OmnicLab. We all hang out over there. It's a really cool place. People of all levels. Sometimes we get as far as 4 full lobbies. Sometimes it's 2. It really depends on how many people are around. But that being said, if you're looking for friends to play the game or looking for a different environment other than competitive to try out some cool stuff, that is the place to be. Remember, June 28th, be there or be square. Also, for everyone who's a part of the Patreon, if you are part of Patreon at the $2.50 tier, you get access to coaching, one coaching session a month. So far, they've been going super well. I think we started this about 3 months ago or 2 months. And the people who've signed up so far have been pretty happy. We've been pretty happy because we get to know you guys a little bit better and get to interact with some of the listeners, get to see where you guys are at, and it helps us inform our decisions or on where to take the show or maybe what topics to address, what topics are giving you guys some trouble. So that is going really well. Remember, sign up for your coaching sessions if you haven't yet. And if you're already part of the tier, reach out to us. We've done a lot of them this month, and I know there's a lot of you guys left that we haven't gotten to. So reach out to us and let's set something up. Thank you to our sponsors, Top Score Solutions, a great esports community. If you want to join a community to do some sort of stuff in esports, whether it be content, streaming, coaching, anything else, and you want to get linked up, topscoresolutions.com is the place to be. And also Omnic Meta, or stats sponsor. If you guys are looking to look at your gameplay for a more analytical point of view and check out some of the stats behind your game and try to keep track of your improvements or maybe not so much improvements if you're like me, omnicbeta.com is the place to do it. Really, really cool stuff. The Switch Fox, the creator of the website, hangs out in our Discord all the time, so he's super easy to reach as well. It's a cool website. All that being said, let's jump back into the good stuff. Let's go into Baptiste. All right, let's start with some basics, ML7. What is Baptiste's role? If we were just to break him down into some of the most basics, how does he fit into the support roster? And what are maybe some of his strengths? And why would you bring him instead of another support?
I would say that Baptiste is a main healer. Like, obviously, he heals more than Zen without Transcendence. How does he fit as a support? The answer to this is quite tricky right now because there have been rumors about 222 lock, goal lock in Overwatch. So right now, you can use triple support with Baptiste replacing maybe Brig, or you would view it as in the future in a 2-2 lock with maybe him being played as the main healer with a Lucio or a Brig or anything like that. From my personal point of view, again, I think he's the main healer. He is one of the strongest main healers. Like, he can heal the entire team up without any problem. If I remember correctly, yesterday, one of the teams in Contenders EU used Baptiste as a solo healer in a team comp. So he can definitely solo heal if everybody's grouped up together. Other healers that can do that quite well are Ana, Moira, and to a certain extent Mercy, but she got nerfed recently. So I would say Baptiste is in the top 3 from the healing output perspective. And how does he fit as a support? He does almost everything really good, but I would say he doesn't excel at anything in specific other than in high ranked team play, which I'm going to probably develop a little bit in the future questions.
Yeah, we'll get into all of that. I thought it was pretty interesting how you're saying that you can play him as a main support, and in your mind, he fits that role of a main support. But then you can also bring him in the role of a Brig, right? When you're playing with 3 supports. And in those cases, I'm imagining you playing him a little bit more on the offense, maybe focusing more on picks, or are you still focusing mainly on healing in that position?
It depends, because let's give out 2 examples. One was played in Overwatch League, if I remember correctly, San Francisco Shock played Goats on which is like triple tank, triple support, the famous team comp that has been dominating Overwatch for the past year. For people that don't know about it, and they
I think at
replaced.
this point everybody knows about goats.
Everybody knows it's like a synonym,
Yeah.
Overwatch and Goats, and like they replaced Brig with the Baptiste, and what they would do is the second Baptiste had ultimate because he would farm his ult really fast. They would back up to a corner, and Zen would be near Baptiste to amplify the shield spam that Zen has because Zen like melts through shields.
Oh, I bet.
Left click a lot. But plus, you can get a Discord off with a headshot and with the amplifying matrix. Somebody could die almost instantly, and then the Reinhardt would shatter. So like they use Baptiste in a very creative way. But at the same time, he can be used also in a very aggressive manner, but he can also be used in a very defensive manner as a peeler, so to say. For example, Anna's a good solo healer, and she lacks mobility, and she needs a lot of peel. Let's say you have Winston, Diva, Genji, Tracer that dive an Ana in the back. Lucia can only do so much. You can boop them off, speed boost, and that's it. But Baptiste acts as a very good bodyguard to Ana. You just amplify, you just use your shift. Ana nades, you're almost unkillable if they don't land an anti-nade onto you. You also have a lot of healing. He's really good at everything, but doesn't excel at something in specific, I would say.
Very cool. I like how you're describing him because, yeah, he has really good healing capabilities. He has good offensive capabilities, right? If you're landing your shots and with amplification matrix, you can actually put out a very decent amount of damage with him. And then you have all those defensive cooldowns, right? Like your mortality field, and you have regenerative burst. I'm blanking out of the name for a second. But yeah, all those tools give you a lot of defensive, not just capabilities, not just for you, but for people like Anna or Zenyatta's who might be next to you. So he can also act as that bodyguard. Very flexible hero from what you're describing.
Yes, but right now I think that people are too afraid to experiment with him. So we only see him being played in the upcoming bunker comps with Bastion, Orisa, Hog, Maxi.
That's where I've seen him the most, right? When you play bunker, usually you bring out the Baptiste just because he fits so well into that combination of heroes. Like everything he brings makes sense in that composition, right?
Yeah.
What do you think you lose when you bring him over some of the other supports, like Anna, for example?
Could you please repeat the question?
Do you think that there's any downside from bringing a Baptiste over an Anna, for example?
Well, I would say that Ana has more playmaking potential with her abilities rather than ultimate. Baptiste, like the only playmaking you can make with Baptiste from an offensive point of view is with your ultimate. You just use your ult for yourself, try to pick somebody off, and that's about it. With Ana, you have that possibility increased with your basic abilities with your sleep dart to catch somebody off guard with your sleep, or you land a big offensive anti-grenade, they're all anti, you all go in. And also you have the nano. So I would say that like his kit is very general, but very good to set up in like a very high ranked environment, so to say. Like in order for you to get the most out of Baptiste, you need communication and you need people to understand his limits. Right now, people pick Baptiste and they think that he's a heal bot, so to say. Like you just sit and just heal them up. That's it.
Wait, isn't that what all healers do?
That's the traditional concept behind
no,
it.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Obviously not. When you're playing Baptiste, what are you usually focusing on during the battle? Are you focusing on keeping every top? Are you focusing on, clutching that immortality field? What's your positioning usually when you're in the battle? Are you in the back line? You try to be more in the center of your team, front line. How do you play him?
I would say that you need to stay quite close to your team, right behind them. So in case somebody is low, you don't risk to let's say misplace your immortality field. Mm-hmm. And you should always be focused on using your immortality field instead of using it like reactively as you would use Transcendence or Beat. I've seen a lot of Baptistes like just like they never use the immortality field because they wait until the last second to use it, like when
They're waiting for
everybody's
that clutch moment.
Exactly, so that everybody goes like, we're dead or we're not dead. Like they want to be a star in the way they use the immortality field. For me, the highest rate of success outside of bunker comps, of course, is like when I use my immortality field, and my team like it's like this. Let's say your Reinhardt is swinging onto another Reinhardt. They're both full HP. If you use your immortality field when they're like half HP, the enemy Rein will get low eventually if he starts swinging, and the enemy team will have to pick like they need to destroy the immortality field so your Reinhardt can continue pressuring the team that has Baptiste. Like again, positioning wise, you need to stay close to your team and you need to use your immortality field more often and in scenarios in which like you would let's say
So
instead of waiting until the last minute, you use it when you don't need it that much, so to say.
gotcha. You're almost using the immortality field as a shield, kinda, just to like
Yes.
buy like more health and basically time for your teammates to do whatever they need to do,
Yeah, exactly.
rather than using it as the get out of jail free card. Don't kill me with your ultimate. You're using it more proactively, more like a Zarya shield you would use, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I've tried using it in the way that everybody uses it. In my opinion, doesn't work out that well. Like people will die eventually. You don't. It has a small deploy time, so I would recommend using it more like as a pseudo shield, so to say.
And I think because I am personally guilty of doing that. I save my immortality shield sometimes for too long for the clutch moments. And I think that in my case, sometimes is because the ability has such a long cooldown, right? That you don't want to maybe use it at the wrong moment and then not have it when you actually need it, right? Maybe it's that paranoia that is keeping me from using it more often.
Yeah, but at the same time, you need to take into consideration the fact that it's actually not that effective against big combos. For example, if they use a Graviton, they just destroy the immortality field. You buy 1 second extra maximum. Like a lot of people, when he got released, I remember everybody was saying, "This is broken. That should be his ultimate. This is like he's way too strong with his immortality field." Well, I don't think it's that strong. It's really easy focusable. Like it should buy you an extra second against good players. That is.
It makes sense. Let's actually get into a few of his abilities because this is a pretty interesting conversation. We talked a little bit about Immortality Field, and we might come back into it when it makes sense. But let's talk about the Biotic Launcher for a second. For those of you who don't know, Biotic Launcher is the weapon that he's using. It has two forms of fire. The primary deals damage. It deals about 12.5 damage per bullet and 25 damage as a critical hit. Is a 3 burst round gun with 45 bullets, and it does have damage fall off. So Baptiste damage starts falling off around 20 meters all the way to 40 meters being the lowest amount of damage that he can deal. The secondary fire, as everybody knows, is his main healing output. Every bullet deals about 60 healing per bullet. You have 12 of them, and they explode in a 3-meter radius. So a little trivia information for you guys out there if you didn't know. But let's talk about how you're using this gun in particular, because it's the only gun who actually has 2 separate clips. Did you have to get used to this sort of mechanic, having 2 different clips of ammo and juggling between them too? Do you have any tricks to keep in mind those 2 clips?
Yeah, actually, when Baptiste was first released, it was really hard to get used to his gun. He's one of, I think, only Lucio has like another triple burst gun, like on his primary fire. So back when he was released, I remember that Apex was still being played, and I absolutely hate triple burst guns. I never played with them. And so for me to like get used to Baptiste, I would play. I can't remember like with the hemlock. I think it's
Yeah,
called
the
in
hemlock.
Apex.
It's Apex Legends.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're actually
To
kind of
get used to
similar.
it. Yeah, to get used to it. That helped me out a lot, like just trying triple tap guns like that. Regarding his healing, I would say it's quite easy, short to medium distance, considering the fact that he will never be played in teams that require you to heal people at a very long distance. For example, if let's say you're playing with a Hammond in the back as a main tank, I don't think the Hammond can realistically expect you to be able to heal him with Baptiste from across the map. You would need a
Hmm.
Nana for that or a Zen. So his grenades, although they seem quite hard to launch, short to medium range, just aim at the floor, you should be fine. It's quite easy to learn.
They travel relatively fast, so compared to some of the other projectiles, then they tend to be a little bit more reliable, right? Especially because they have that area of effect, so it's a little bit forgiving. The healing is the same anywhere in the area of effect, so it's not like Zarya or Pharah that when their alternative fire is exploding, depending on the distance where you are, the damage might be reduced. With Baptiste, you don't have that problem. Anywhere you hit it is the same 60 healing, so you get a little bit of forgiveness with that. That being said, you did mention that you like being close to your team, right? Because at
Yeah.
one point, being too far away does affect kind of like your reliability as a healer, right?
And as a damage dealer, because you mentioned previously that he has like a quite big damage fall off after a certain distance. So you kind of like need to be very close to your team to contribute both with healing and with damage, because this is one of the luxuries that like Baptiste has. Instead of Ana, like with Ana, you have only 14 bullets, both for healing and damage. But with Baptiste, you have, I think, over 30 on your primary magazine, and also like 12 grenades for healing. So you can contribute more to the shield work than a Nana would. If you want to contribute more to the shield work, you stay near your Reinhardt. You don't stay way in the back.
Very cool. The little recoil did throw me off the first few times that I played him because no other gun in Overwatch really has recoil. So if you're used to maybe some of the other heroes like Soldier, you're never accounting for recoil at all. But when you're playing Baptiste, your aim does kind of start going up a little bit.
Um, yeah, I mean it's kind of like an odd mechanic for Overwatch. But for people that have played FPS before, usually they have like a set recoil pattern. Baptiste's one is quite easy. For example, if people want to try this in training range, if they just lower down the mouse a bit, then you're gonna hit everything at the place where your original bullet will go.
Sounds good.
Takes some time, but yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the Exo Boots, which is another very particular ability that Baptiste has. In fact, the first time I played Baptiste, I kind of freaked myself out a little bit because I think I was crouching at a point and then my character just jumped super high out of nowhere. And I'm like, whoa, how did I jump so high? And it took me a second to realize that it was his passive ability, the Exo Boots. If you crouch for a bit, you'll charge the Exo Boots. The longer that you charge it, the how am I blanking on the word? The longer that you'll
Oh.
jump, basically, or the higher that you'll jump, up to a maximum of 9.1 meters. So it's a relatively long jump and can allow you to get high ground very easily with Baptiste. His verticality is actually quite nice for a support that doesn't have any other movement abilities. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Exo boots and how you use them?
Yeah, I think that people they either overuse them or they don't use them at all. I think they need to be more aware of the enemy cooldowns. For example, if the enemy team has like heroes that are very limited vertical mobility wise, for example, they're playing only with a Winston. If you stay on high ground and only the Winston can get to you, you can just jump down. Winston jumps up to you, you jump down. Winston no cooldown needs to go down on you, and then you jump back up. So you like bait out one of his cooldowns. Like you can be very creative in baiting out abilities with his exo boots. A lot of people have only been using him as just trying to access high ground, but at the moment, I think snipers are being played a lot. So this is why people are not that creative on staying on high ground, because in certain spots where you would normally stay with Baptiste, if there wouldn't be like a sniper meta, you're not gonna have a shield. So you better just stay like behind your tanks and so on.
Yeah, gotta
I
watch out for
recommend
those snipes.
exactly. And I remember when I first started playing Baptiste, like the first 2 weeks, I would constantly jump. Like it was so fun, but I would die nonstop. I would die
You feel
nonstop.
like a slinky just jumping all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. Need to be
I
very careful with it.
I have seen Baptiste use it pretty creatively to dodge a charging Reinhardt or a Roadhog hook. Sometimes a Genji dash you can dodge with it as well, or a well-timed Ana nade that is going towards your team, you can dodge it with it as well. Are you usually trying to keep in mind those things coming to you and trying to dodge it with the exo boost, or is it kind of hard to time?
From my experience, there are certain things that you can dodge and certain things that you cannot dodge. I mean, cannot dodge reliably. For example, Roadhog hook, it's almost impossible to dodge the second he starts casting it. He's going to grab you by the bottom of your hitbox. I don't understand why. But yeah, Shatter, like if the enemy team has Shatter, always charge your exo boots because you're staying behind your Reinhardt anyway. You're probably gonna have a shield, even if you crouch and don't move that much. Maybe your guy's gonna lose the shield war when when the enemy guy goes for a shatter. You can jump up quite reliably. Like dodging your shatters is okay. Dodging, let's say, Doomfist punches that he's trying to charge onto you, it's okay again. But keeping it for things such as Roadhog hook or yeah, that's about it. Roadhog hook at the moment, for
Just don't
examples.
try to dodge his roadhouse hook.
Yeah, better just try to AD strafe it, so to say, or try to get into
Stay
cover.
behind the wall or something.
Yeah.
Very cool. Anything else you want to say about the exo boots?
Mm, Nothing in particular right now.
Alrighty, let's go into the regenerative burst, which I think is actually a pretty important ability for Baptiste, since it's the only ability that allows him to heal himself. Interesting design here. Definitely makes you think twice about going in, or if this cooldown is down, maybe you can't be as aggressive. I feel like a lot of your gameplay has to revolve around this cooldown in one way or another, right?
Depending if you're solo healing or not. If you're
Okay.
not solo healing, you are still going to be near your team. So you don't need to like keep it for yourself, so to say. If you're solo healing, then yeah, you kind of like need to use it, needed to use it in a more selfish manner.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I personally recommend people not use it when let's say your teammates are starting to take damage, but right before they start taking damage, because there's a cool thing about it. It doesn't work as Lucius Aura. Like let's view it as a sphere. If everybody's in that sphere, the second you cast it, and then people leave the sphere, they will still benefit from the effect of it. So they don't need to stay in the sphere for the 5 seconds that you have the effect of healing.
Oh, very interesting. I actually did not know that little detail. I thought that you had to be within range of Baptiste to be able to heal. So it only affects at the moment of cast time. You just have to be in
Yeah,
range whenever you cast it. After that, you can be
you can leave.
totally
Yeah,
apart from Baptiste.
exactly.
Very interesting. Something also to note about this ability is that it gives you 30 healing per second over 5 seconds for a total of 150 healing. So it's rather passive healing. It's not amazing. I think this is close to what Lucio does or a little bit more.
I don't know the specific numbers, but I think so. Yeah,
It's close.
it isn't that much.
I think it's close, yeah, but it's not a lot. So it's definitely not something that will keep you alive through a ton of damage. If you're getting a ton of damage fired at you, you'll still be taken down. So you still have to be mindful of that. And it has a 15-second cooldown. So a relatively hefty cooldown for a healing ability, but keep in mind that the more people that are around you when you're using this ability, the more the total healing will be because you're healing 150 per person that you touch at that point. Do you have any tips for when you're using this? What are some of the situations where you find yourself using it, or any little tricks?
I would say to use it right around corners where people are holding. For example, you're playing on King's Row, you're attacking, the enemy team is defending on a first point. Right as you start entering the gate, considering that you do not heal that much with it, you should use shift as the second your team peeks around the gate, even if they're full HP, because they're going to take some chip damage, maybe a fire strike or something like that, so you can get the maximum effect out of it. A lot of people try to use it in the middle of the team fight. I mean, they don't use it preemptively, and they will not get the maximum value out of it because you will still spam like your right clicks and so on. So what I recommend is doing something like this. Right before your team engages, use your regenerative perks. They're all full HP. They start taking damage, but you do not need to waste your time healing them with your right click because you already have your regenerative perks active. So you can spend that time until they start getting low to do some damage. More shield pressure, maybe you force somebody out of position or stuff like that. And then when the effect wears off, or when you need extra healing, you are probably going to have it again sooner because you used it at the beginning of the team fight. And you can also use your right click, of course. So in comparison to the enemy Baptiste that would use it when, let's say, they are starting to become low, you're going to have two regenerative bursts because he's going to use it in mid-fight, and you're going to use one at the beginning and one in mid-fight. So it's more about knowing exactly when to use your cooldowns to get the maximum effect out of them.
Very cool. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that too much because yeah, I was assuming whenever you see your team take damage, then you go ahead and use it. But a lot of the time, it seems like you're using it in a preemptive way, right? You're just anticipating your teammates or yourself taking damage, and you're like, yeah, we're probably about to take a ton of damage. I might as well just pop it and have that like extra blanket to cover my team, right? And it frees you to do other stuff like damaging.
Yeah, exactly.
Very
And
cool.
another thing to keep an eye out for is don't use it when your team has Transcendence active, for example. Like don't waste cooldowns like
Don't
that.
stack it with like other big healing over time effects, right? Like or
Yeah.
Brigitte Rally, for example.
Yeah. If everybody's low, then you can use it. But if not, then I would say it's just bad cooldown management.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Let's go back to Immortality Field because I thought it was really interesting how you were saying that you're using it more as a shield, and maybe we can think of a few more like opportunities or settings in which you're using Immortality Shield. When do you find yourself throwing it down the most in the current
Um,
meta?
if I'm playing in bunker, I mean, I have a shield. We're not moving, and it's quite easy to keep keep an eye out for everybody that is like starting to get low. Then I would use it when, let's say, the enemy Ana uses an antibiotic grenade and they start jumping in, like when they're all low. But if, let's say, I'm playing in a Ryan Zarya team comp versus again Ryan Zarya team comp, when my Ryan's about half HP, I would use it then as a pseudo shield. What I'm saying with this is keep in mind that this is like in ranked gameplay. I think that in higher environments such as Overwatch League, I've not seen people get that creative with it, but I think they can get quite creative with it. For example, there's a quite common strategy when Reinhardts face each other and there's no way for you to stop like their shield, their shift, I mean, their charge. You would normally bubble the Reinhardt, so he does like a short pin, but he like kind of goes in the enemy team. I would view it as in you bubble the guy, he goes in, he starts getting low, you throw the immortality field where the pin ends. So they have to pick between focusing Reinhardt or focusing the immortality field, like more of a distraction. And another tip I have that can be used in ranked and is already used in professional gameplay is for snipers to pick around corners. For
Mm.
example, you're playing King's Row. Again, King's Row first point, you use it around the wall. The Widow just picks safe. Even if she gets headshot, she can still live. Your job
Yeah,
is just to let the Widow know when Immortality Field is going to be off.
yeah, she can play super aggressive because she's guaranteed to never die. She can just basically stand still if she wants to, which is a widow's dream, right? Just being able to
Yeah,
stand still and be shoot at everybody without anything happen to you.
yeah. Like it's good. It's good.
Nice. So you find yourself not using it very often on the big cooldowns, like when you're in Graviton?
I'm more in a trial and error type of moment right now. I'm still trying to use it for Gravitons or Genji Blades and so on, but I find it like my rate of success of using them, it's not that high.
Yeah, and I can see why because even if the Genji's blading, right? Like he can still hit the immortality field and you at the same time. So it's
Yeah,
happened before that the Genji blades on me, there's an immortality field, you're still fighting him in it, but there's one blade that eventually breaks the immortality and still hits you and you still die, right? Unless you're able to
yeah,
kill him before that. Or same with the Graviton. It happens with Junkrat tires too. Even if you're able to get the brunt of the Junkrat tire, you still end up at like 25 life or something like that. So you're like a sneeze away from dying. Somebody can just come finish you off really
exactly,
quick.
exactly.
So yeah, I can see why you're saying maybe using it in more creative ways to guarantee like those of 1v1s for your sniper or maybe winning the Reinhardt duel. Because once the immortality field is down, you do have to address it. And I don't think we mentioned this before, but it has about 250 health. So it's a significant amount, right? You basically have to kill an extra character, an extra squishy character. You have to kill an extra Reaper in there in the middle of the battle to get through, basically.
Exactly. But the disadvantage is that it's not moving and it's usually above the character's hitbox. So it's very easy to focus. You like there's no way you can shoot somebody else behind it.
Yeah,
That's in front of
exactly.
it, I mean.
Very cool. The last ability we're going to talk about here is his ultimate, the Amplification Matrix. I think one of the hardest abilities to get juice from him. Like, you can definitely get a lot of juice, but I constantly find myself maybe misplacing it. So maybe we can talk a little bit about how you use it, the timing, where you like placing it. Do you use it for yourself or for your teammates? Do you try to set somebody up? Do you use it freely or is it very deliberate? Let's talk a little bit about it.
I think when Baptiste was first announced, people were always imagining using his ultimate as a, like, let's say uh, a nano wall, so everybody shoots through it. But in reality, people will just move away from it. So you need to be like very, very, again, very creative with how you use it. If you view it like use it and then make it high noons, everybody's just going to move away from it. Like you need more coordination with that. Personally, I would say that using it in a more selfish manner is the way to go, or using it in choke points. For example, right now Orisa is being played a lot. Let's say you're playing on Junkertown, they're all holding in front of you first point, you have your ultimate, you place the ult in front of the Orisa shield, you break it almost instantly. They will not expect the damage, has a very high rate of success. Or you use it to heal up your teammates because it doubles your healing and it also doubles the damage. You either use it to like increase your healing and you can heal more than Ana can in that case, or you use it to, let's say, get a pick off. Like his pick potential is very underestimated considering his mobility with exo boots and the fact that he has immortality field. And yeah, those are like the three ways. Either in choke points, either to amplify healing, or to try to get picks. So two individualistic manners and one collective.
And it is interesting because I don't think until the higher levels you really see a lot of Baptiste using the amplification matrix for the healing. Actually, the usually you mostly see them using for the picks, right? They'll put it in front of their bastion or in front of themselves to try to get those picks. But very rarely do you see them using it for healing. But it's really important to keep that in mind. It doubles the amount of healing as much as it doubles the amount of damage. So if you need healing in a pinch and you need to pump heals into your Reinhardt because he's getting demolished, it is a very, very valid strategy, like you're saying. The problem here is being able to gauge when that is going to happen, right? You have to be very quick on your reflexes and good with your aim as well, right?
Yeah.
When you're using it for healing, do you try to assume more of a behind your team position? How do you position when you're using it in that way?
It depends actually. Usually when I use it for healing, I almost am always kind of like further apart from my team. It's in such a manner because my playstyle again is more it's calculated. So because I'm using it in a very, like, let's say I'm standing close to my team, I know they're going to get low, I'm starting to separate myself because I'm trying to like provoke the enemy Hanzo or Tracer Genji to come and contest me while I'm still trying to heal up my team. Because like I'm still doing healing. The flanker takes time to come to me, so I'm essentially making the 5-6 versus 5 with amplified healings. Like, this is my way of using it. But I've had a lot of the times also in which I just use them for people right in front of me. But those are the exceptions. So I'll use them. Like when I amplify healing, I tend to separate myself more because from what I see, people are scared of it because also you need to keep in consideration that it doubles the healing, but it doubles the damage also. I've had Tracers trying to contest me or Winston's jumping in front of the shield, and I just melt through them really, really easy.
You do
So
hit
that's
really
like
hard with amplification matrix, yeah.
exactly like it's more of a you shall not pass type of ultimate.
Just to give you guys an idea, a regular critical hit from Baptiste is 25 damage. If you double that is 50 damage per bullet. So if you hit 3 bullets in the head, it's 150 damage. you become a killing machine when you put a amplification matrix in front of you. And I really like the what you said about maybe being separate from your team, because if you put down the amplification matrix and you're pumping heals into your team, you immediately become a problem that the team or the enemy team has to address, right? As a DPS player, it makes no sense to keep focusing the Reinhardt, which is gaining 120 heals from you from every bullet. Instead, it makes more sense to go focus you and stop you from doing that. So I like the way that you're thinking about it. Just from your positioning, you're already forcing the enemy DPS to have to change the focus and buying your team more time.
Exactly. Like it's more creating more thought processes, invoking, let's say, more thoughts in the enemy's minds. Like instead of just focus the Reinhardt, oh wait, there's a Baptiste in the back. Should I go on Baptiste? Should I not go on Baptiste? Should we wait? What should we do? Like you create confusion.
Yeah, and going into you is equally dangerous, like you said, because you're still standing in front of a matrix.
And you have immortality field, regenerative burst, and you can also escape with your extra boots. So
Yeah, exactly. Another way that I've seen sometimes the immortality field being used is very similar to how you use the Orisa shield, like the shield dancing. You know, when they come right next to you, and you can't really guarantee that they'll be on one side. Do you want to speak a little bit to that?
I don't quite follow. I don't understand what you mean with it.
Oh, sorry. You know, maybe I didn't describe it very well, but you know, with Orisa, for example, her shield
Yeah.
is static. So really good Orisas, what they'll do is as soon as you go to the other side of the shield, they'll invert on you, right? They'll just go to the other side of the shield and they'll
Mm-hmm.
keep dancing, kind of like Winston does with his bubble as well. He'll go from the
Yeah.
inside to the outside of the barrier. You can sort of do the same thing with the
With his ultimate.
amplification
Yeah.
matrix, and I've seen a lot of that, like that shield dancing, basically going through it to keep getting the damage boost even at close ranges, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a very viable strategy, and I think everybody should use it.
Do you have a preference sometimes on your placement, whether you place it vertical or horizontal, based on that, or do you usually just place it right in front of you where the battle is?
Depends on the angle I'm trying to place it. Because, for example, if I need it for healing, I'll place it right in front of me. If I cannot see the choke point, let's say I'm playing to the right side of my bunker comp because I just respawned, then I will try to like swap the position of the shield so it faces the bastion right in front of them. Like I always think, where can I place it so my team can get the most out of it?
Yeah, there's nothing worse than placing it a little bit too soon or in the wrong angle, and then realizing that the whole enemy team is out of sight a little bit too soon, and your amplification matrix is basically getting zero value at that
Yeah.
point. Do you have any tips for building your ultimate? Any way that you build it a little bit faster, or what abilities do you try to focus on to build that ultimate maybe a little bit faster?
As I said, try to use regenerative perks before the team fights, so you have it more often, and always try to do DPS. Don't be just a heal bot, because doing DPS also charges up your ultimate. He has one of the fastest charging ultimates out of the supports, so if you do it right, you should have it at least once every 2 fights.
Yeah, he does have a relatively fast charging ult. Um, do you get the majority of your ult from your main healing, or are you getting it from your damage? Do you know? Do you pay attention to that?
I would say I get like 70 to 80% out of my regenerative burst and just spamming grenades when people are starting to get really low. Like let's say I'm trying
So your
to,
healing is the main source of your
yeah,
ultimate generation.
yeah, of course, because he has a very limited range. Because even though you hit them at a long distance, when you charge your ultimate based on the damage you do, it takes into consideration, as I said, the damage you do, and he barely tickles people at long distances. So his ult charges, like if they're not in front of you and you start doing damage, you're not going to charge your ult up that fast. So the main source is, I would say, 80 to 90% healing.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Very cool. I think that goes through all of his abilities in depth and kind of the way that you use him. I must say I've learned a couple things here and there that I was definitely not doing before. That being said, do you have any other tips that maybe we haven't addressed? Maybe combination of his abilities or certain tricks that you do with certain heroes that we haven't addressed that are maybe a little bit more on the advanced side?
As a trick, I would say a lot of people somehow still don't know with his immortality field that it has like the same trajectory of his right click. So if you shoot the right click before and you are not confident in your immortality field placement, just shoot the right click before, and where it lands, your immortality field will land.
Does it
And
has the same like
arch,
speed?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it'll land
exactly,
in the exact same position.
exactly, yeah.
Oh, I did not know that actually. That is pretty useful.
I'm happy.
Because I miss a lot of immortality shields, especially when you're trying to fire them at a long distance. If they're right in front of you, they're not too hard, right? But
No,
if you're trying to get like the bastion that's in the card and you're not really there, sometimes it'll miss, right?
yeah, just shoot a right click before and you should be fine.
Oh, very cool.
And another tip, let's say you're playing with dive tanks, or let's say you have a Genji, you have Nano Blade, and you play with Baptistana. You can help out the Genji by just, let's say, throwing a right click before to see where you're going to land your immortality field, and then throwing the immortality field where your Genji blades. So you're making him kind of like immune, because they need to focus either the Genji or the immortality field.
Oh,
As in,
nice.
like, let's say your Winston dives in, and for extra tankiness, you throw the immortality field where the Winston dives in.
Oh, so you're using it preemptively before your
Kind of
Winston
like a
lands?
shield.
Oh, okay.
The second Winston jumps in, he's going to start getting focused, and the enemy team needs to pick. We either focus the Winston or we focus the immortality field.
And if there's anything that Winston's love is for you to buy them a little bit more time. They get focused down so hard.
Exactly.
Nice. Very cool. Any other stuff that you want to share?
I would say people should not be discouraged with experimenting him outside of Bastion comps. A lot of people have been uh, flaming players trying to play Baptiste outside of Bastion or Risa comps. And I think that if you're not a risk taker, then you're not going to get the most out of anything. So I would encourage people to start playing Baptiste, considering his healing output being quite generous. At the same, or like competing with Ara and Moira, like you're not gonna lack healing if you have a Baptiste. You might lack utility until you understand how to use his immortality field and ultimate. But I do think that he can work in more different comps than the ones that professional players have been using him in.
Very cool. And especially in a game like Overwatch, which I think has so much ground to be discovered, even after 3 years of it being out, you still find new ways of playing compositions. I keep bringing this example up, but the Clockwork Vendetta composition, that if you look at that, it just looks like a terrible composition, but played in the right style is actually very
Exactly.
effective. And you would have never gotten a composition like that if you hadn't had people, willing to try that out and take that risk and perfect something like that. So sometimes you can make things work a lot more than you think originally. You just got to put in the time and thought into it. I really like it because I agree with you. I think that there's a lot of potential with Baptiste that hasn't been discovered. And so far, he's been put into that bunker comp kind of box, right? And that's where he's belonged so far. But it's a matter of time for guys like you to just show us the way and show this is not the only way that it can be used, right?
Yeah. I would like to add also one more thing. He's two more things. One, he's very good when, let's say, it's the last fight of the game and you need a defensive ultimate for the Graviton because you just use Transcendence or you just use Beat. Just swap to Baptiste and you have a budget Transcendence for the Graviton. Maybe you can buy some time. And another thing I would like to add, he's quite a viable swap in, let's say, for example, to CP fights. You die, you're Reinhardt, there's no way you're going to get to point in time. You want to contribute to staggering the point as much as possible, but people have already picked May, Hammond, and so on, and you want stall characters. Bringing in Immortality Field can buy you at least 1 or 2 extra seconds of the clock, so they might get into overtime.
Yeah, that can be the difference between your teammate coming back and you keep going to stall, right? Sometimes.
Exactly.
And it's a
Yeah.
good way to think about it, yeah, because your immortality field is just a regular cooldown, and you're expecting something big like a graviton or some crazy ultimate like that. Yeah, that's a really cool tip. I like it. All right, last question: Baptiste or Anna, as personal preference?
Anna.
Can't
All
let
I've
her
got
go,
mad at me. Yeah,
huh?
Anna. Anna because she's a sniper, and I love snipers.
Nice. And you're also amazing shot with Anna. Like you're super precise with her. It's pretty amazing watching
Thank you.
you take down Farahs and Mercies all the time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um Chat, if you guys have any questions, feel free to write them down. This will be the time to do it before we close out over here. I think we had a question a while back from Enfiros. He says, "Do you think Hanzo and Baptiste ult is a good combo? If Hanzo can stay in the amp matrix, he one-shot squishies and Reaper May without headshotting." So I'm guessing he means shooting the Hanzo dragon arrow through the amplification matrix. Does it boost it?
Um, the dragon, no, but the arrow, yes. Like it
Oh,
amplifies only the arrow of the dragon. It does not amplify the damage from the dragon.
gotcha. So what do you think about that little combo there?
Just using it in front of your Hanzo to spam shield, and I mean, a lot of people view it like one-shot squishies, Reaper May without headshotting. It's kind of like in a more perfect world. I would say if there's a Rein shield in front, you can use it for your Hanzo, tell your Hanzo to keep Storm Arrow. Yeah, for example, a very viable strategy right now, because with Orisa and Hog, there have been a lot of Hanzos being played. If I would play Baptiste, I would tell my Hanzo before the team fight, keep Storm Arrow. So I will ult in front of the Orisa shield, and then he just melts the shield with his Storm Arrow, and then maybe he can get a headshot with his charge up arrow right after.
Nice. Hubuck says that he learned how to fight Doomfist from watching your Baptiste play. How do you combat his ultimate to survive?
How do you combat his ultimate? You just throw Immortality Field right before he lands. So, like, the problem with Doomfist ult is that if you throw it too early, he's not going to contest you because it's Immortality Field. So, yeah.
Yeah, right. He
Uh,
knows.
you need to wait until he has no other choice than to drop on you. Then you throw it down. You can charge your exo boots, and when he just jumps right under you, you can just jump up and use the momentum that he pushes you away. Maybe you can escape to a high ground or other stuff like that. A cool thing about Doomfist is that you asked me if Baptiste is okay to dodge Roadhog's hooks with your exo boots. You can dodge quite reliably Doomfist's punch with his exo boots. And another thing to keep an eye out for Baptiste and his immortality field, it's a sphere. And with Doomfist, there is kind of like an annoying interaction. If you somehow duel him, you need to place your immortality field right around the wall, so the highest part of the sphere connects with the wall. So if he uppercuts you, he will not push you outside of the sphere. Because like it comes like this. This is like the wall, it's here. And if this is not the wall, then he will just push you outside of the sphere over here, so to say. So like he's very bad against characters that can displace you, that can yoink you up out of your immortality field, such as Roadhog Hook or Doomfist. So again, if you duel a Doomfist, hug a wall, place immortality field, because otherwise he will just get you outside of the line of sight of it with his uppercut.
Gotcha. So the uppercut gets you out of the immortality field like verticality range, basically.
Yes, exactly, because it's like a sphere. So he
Gotcha.
will like this is the like where it is deployed, it's the highest part of the sphere. So if he somehow knocks you out of the range of the highest point of the sphere, then that's
He can
enough with
deal
his uppercut
damage.
to displace you, and you will
Okay.
not be vulnerable.
Oh, okay. That's a good tip to keep in mind. Yeah, I didn't know that either. And one thing that I didn't know either that I don't think we mentioned before is that the immortality field, the actual immortality part, lasts about zero point 0.5 seconds longer than the actual circle that deploys it. I don't know if you knew this before, but if your immortality field reaches the end of its duration, the circle will disappear before the field right below it disappears. So you have like an extra zero point 0.5 seconds of immortality once it runs out. I was just
Yes.
reading that before.
So this is why this is why it's very important to call out if you're playing Baptiste when Immortality Field is going to go offline. Because let's say you have a Widow peeking that's focused on shooting, and you have your Immortality Field, you're right behind her. She's not going to focus on hearing or seeing when the Immortality Field will go offline. So you just tell her to hold the position, or Immortality Field still up, still up, still up. It disappears, move. And that's half a second that she has to move into cover.
We'll have a second of reaction time. Very cool. Alrighty, I think that'll do it. If people want to find you to check out your stream and check out some of the stuff that you do, why don't you share some of the places they can do so?
You can find me on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram at ML7 Support, and also on Discord at ML7.
Make sure to check out this man's stream. I promise you will not be disappointed in what you see. He really is a pleasure to watch playing.
Thank you for having me on, and thank you so much for all the kind words.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can have you in the future. Maybe we can bring you back to do some Anna stuff or something, because you're also an amazing Anna. We really wanted to get Baptiste out of the way. It seemed like it was a good week for it too. We had never had a Baptiste episode before, at least not in this level of detail. And with Baptiste week and the short story coming out, I thought it was a good moment to try it out. Did you actually had a chance to check out the Baptiste short story?
Yeah, I checked it out on stream, but just
What do you think?
through it. I like the new character tease. I just hope it's a very nice tank.
Yeah, Maga.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks pretty sick. Hopefully he'll be coming out soon. I like him too. Alrighty, guys, to close out the show, very special thanks to all of our Diamond Patreon sponsors. We have Top Score Solutions, Refire, Bunk Plays, Meow Meow, Shazir, Shepherd, Crimson Fail, Roger B, Chris the Playa, and Tragic Zach. Thanks for everyone in the chat as well. Everybody who came to listen to ML7. I appreciate it. You guys were super awesome and super active. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to check out the podcast a little bit more, you can always go to omniclab.com and check out all of the archives and all of our previous episodes. You can also join our Discord at discord.me/omniclab. And if you want to message the show, you can do so over at omniclabpodcast@gmail.com. If you guys want to leave any iTunes reviews, it really makes us really happy and helps with the show visibility. Other than that, thank you so much for coming. And like Rob would say, don't only be a lab rat, be a scientist. We'll catch you guys later.
See ya.
I have nothing more to teach you. The rest